safe, sound, and healthy. And I hope um, those of you who are getting tired of prolonged winters are actually getting to see some sun. On this side of the globe, we are seeing lots and lots of it. Uh, the heat is beating down. In fact, uh, Karachi, which is basically a very moderate temperature, um, normally it has very moderate temperatures because of the sea and everything. I've heard, I don't live in Karachi, I live in Lahore, so I've heard that they're expecting it to shoot up to 40 degrees in Karachi, which is pretty unprecedented because 40 is normal for here in Lahore, and that's during the summer. And right now in Lahore, we are basically going through the 30s. We're like 34, 30, 31. At night, it can go down to 24, 27. So it's, spring here. We're not seeing any signs of it shooting up to 40 any sooner, thank God. Um, Maybe it's because of, as I said, Lahore does get affected by the northern areas because we are not part of the mountains or anything, but we are closer to um, the hilly areas, So if there's prolonged snowfall, for example, up north, that helps maintain the temperature here in Lahore. Um, so yeah, it's I wouldn't call it cool. Yeah, there's a lot of it's breezy days and everything, but that doesn't necessarily make it cool. But yes, the fan is on at full speed, and that helps. So nowadays, just the fan would suffice. That's pretty good. And how is business going for everybody? Because I know that because of COVID, there has been, uh, it's been quite disastrous, especially for the middle class families. And everybody knows that the backbone of any country is the middle class because they are the most balanced of all social classes. And as you know, moderation is key for in anything in life. And similarly, a class that is based on moderation, both socially and generally and financially, economically speaking. This class is supposed to be the backbone of any country. And because the very poor and the very rich, these are two classes that are basically very privileged in our country. The very rich get away without paying taxes, even though the current government is actually working mostly on those people for the first time in history. And the very poor, obviously, uh, all those taxes, according to the Islamic system, all the taxes are taken and then they're used for the welfare of the country, especially the poor people. So the poor class is quite privileged as well, and especially nowadays where there is more work opportunities for them as compared to for the middle class families are struggling. They are struggling because they are those that were owners of businesses. There were those that were owners of small businesses, big businesses, um, and during COVID they've had to close down their businesses. Despite, I mean, it is true that the government has offered them loans and lots of benefits in order to help them revive their businesses, but it's not easy, obviously. And my main concern is that because at the end of the day, no matter how you see it and whether you like it or not, the main the majority of the taxpayers are your middle class people. So if they are not able to make money, they will not be able to pay taxes. And if they do not pay taxes, then the government will not be able to secure the welfare of the country and of the poor. So there is that cycle after all. So you have to take care if you want your country to develop and to take great strides in progress. You have to make sure that your middle class survives, and it survives in better conditions, because that's the only way you can actually have an actively progressive country. Uh, Speaking of businesses, I remember we were. This is something that people may have a, especially the new generation. One of the reasons also why many businesses might go towards decline is because the younger generation are not actually interested in taking over, and I actually understand that, because I personally also believe that I'd rather create a business of my own than inherit one from my parents, for example, or take over. Why? I'll tell you why. It's because of control issues, and because of the fact that the obviously the person who's created that business, he will take every and any decision very seriously, and even this they will become sort of control freaks, and you can understand that, because after all, they built their businesses, they built it from scratch. But you see, there is this, as I always used to say, I've always said this actually, still do, that when the if you look back in history, the older civilizations, they had more wisdom and more common sense, and they were more pragmatic and more realistic compared to us. We call ourselves all that, but the truth is we have regressed a lot in this where this is concerned, the subject, because in the past, people acknowledged the fact that their children had grown older, that they were adults, they had to be respected as adults, they had to be treated as adults, and so they had to be given responsibility as adults. And the older generation would back off and let them take control. And now that's not the case. Now they want their kids to take over, but they want basically they just want their kids not to take over, but to become their second man, you can say. They want them to become their the person who deals with everything on their behalf. So it's not a person who's taking over, it's a person who is taking care of things on their behalf. So that's not a good idea, actually, in any case. Yes, I understand that you have a certain way of doing things, and when the new generation comes in, they want to change everything. But you need to understand the reason why you're bringing in the new generation is because you admitted to yourself that change is needed. In order for a company to grow, in order for an industry to grow, changes have to be made according to time. Um, I personally think that there is the best way to deal with any company that deals with old, especially old clients, and these are very old loyal clients, for example. And obviously, there has to be some good faith involved for them to have this very long relationship. So yes, I understand the importance of that, and I do believe that when the young generation steps in and they want to, they become a little more strict on the rules and all. That is very, very important. Yes, it's very important. So, but what's also important is maintaining that relationship with your old clients. I think the best way to uh, develop your business and enable progress is balance. You have to balance the two worlds. You have to balance the world with the old clientele, and then you have to balance the world with the new clientele. And the best way to balance it is that the first thing that people do when they come is that they make changes to all their rules and all their contracts, and then they want it to be applicable to their old clients as well. To a certain extent, that is validated, but I do believe that the key to having a successful and everlasting business is maintain good faith, maintain relationship, maintain, if that contract isn't doing you any harm, maintain the bulk of it with your old customers and clients, so that they shouldn't feel that a shift in management means that they have to probably look for alternatives. I can tell you one thing: losing a fairly new client is not as harmful as losing a decades old client in business. Um, You may not realize that, but it's a fact. When you have old clients who have been there with you right from the start, your relationship grows, um, your business relationship grows. And yes, there are certain clients who begin to think, or yeah, they do begin to think that they should now get more benefits, and you should be able to suffer a loss on their behalf. Obviously, when you're dealing with such clients, then yes, you have to put your foot down and you have to apply the new rules, the strict rules, you know, um, with them. But if there are old loyal clients that have been with you and they have maintained their contractual and business relationship with you through thick and thin, you should try to prolong the original relationship and try to let it grow from there on a more beneficial track where it's beneficial for both of you, so that they should know that yes, all these years that they have maintained uh, this relationship with your business, it's worth it, and that you're growing together. uh, Businesses that always think about one-sided benefits, and that is their own benefits, and that they believe that they have to trample on every other businesses in order to take themselves to the top. To be honest, that's a very short term and a very stupid um, uh, notion, because that is actually what takes you to your doom in the long run. So if you want your businesses to last longer and if you want them to be more secure, then you have to be able to know which clientele, uh, with which clientele you need to maintain your ongoing business relationships, and with whom you need to cut off and with whom you need to apply the new stricter rules. That balance is necessary, yes. uh, and I think that the parents who are letting their kids take over, they need to also understand that if their kids are coming and trying to establish new rules, if their parents will not respect that decision, then the clients will also not respect them as new management. So you're undermining your own child, which will literally last them through the future. I mean, you will have to die for them to get that control back, to get that respect back. As a leader of the company, or as somebody who's in charge. So you need to stop stunting your children's growth when you want them to take over your businesses. That is a very, very, very fatal mistake that you make. And if you learn to control yourselves and listen, if you've told somebody that now that's their turn and they should take over, then it means they should take over. It means you need to back off. You can't be a hypocrite, and either tell them very clearly that, listen, I'm still in charge and I still want to be in charge, but I just want you to help me, and I want you to uh, make sure that whatever I want done is done. Okay, just be clear about it. Don't 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 make them think that they're taking over and that now it's their turn and there's a shift in management. Don't make them think that, especially if you're not going to respect their decisions. It is very important for the preceding uh, CEO to respect the decisions and the position and the seat of the present CEO, unless he's really doing something that is phenomenally um, harmful for your business. So yeah, you need to stop being control freaks. You need to learn to stand back a little and let them, because if they don't try to understand things on their own and learn, and if they cannot learn from their mistakes and understand what it is that they're doing and what they need to do, and if they are not given a chance to study the whole, um, the whole, the prospects, the current prospects and potential prospects, and uh, then they won't be able to actually get the job done. So instead of impeding them, you need to stand back but let them do their work. Otherwise, then yes, get ready to lose your business, because your children are not going to come and they're not going to work with you, um, they will much rather work at a place where they are dealt with as adults and there's a mutual respect there, and they're dealt with as individuals and not as a child, which is how you literally do behave with your kids, even although you do say that no, we're maintaining a professional um, relationship here, and when we go home it's personal and we don't mix the two, but you actually do, you do. And that is what makes it so difficult for your children to take over. So yes, they will much rather go to a place where their decisions are respected, where their position is respected, and where they can actually get a job done, rather than constantly having to be called uh, to the bench and being asked for explanations as to why they did this and why they did that. So it's better that you just hire yourself a personal secretary to get the job done then, because that's basically what you're looking for. So there is all that. And I think when for the new generation, as I said, what they really really need to understand is that when they start a business, um, when you're starting a business, you are free to make your rules, but also feel free to change those rules according to the situation, because at the end of the day you're trying to grow and maintain a business. And obviously because time changes and the older generation is still sticking to older rules, but you as a new generation, you have to follow what's going on right now, because as I said, times change, and because of that the whole methodology of work changes, and we have to keep that in mind. And that is why we set new rules, and that is why for example, um, this is a very small example, very very small example. You will have somebody who owns flats and commercial buildings, and they've rented them out. And the tenants will always come up with an excuse, for example, to delay their rent. And sometimes you even lower their rent because they convince you that they're not doing very well and they have nowhere else to go. Now, when new management comes in, or when the new generation comes in, and they suddenly decide that, okay, you know what, we're not going to do business like this anymore. You either pay up or you get lost. Sometimes you may feel that they're being too harsh, and they don't know what they're doing. Again, as I said, if it is an old, reliable relationship based on good faith, where you know that that person really is facing problems and that that person does come, he does eventually pay his rent despite it all, then obviously yes, you would have to ensure that the new management keeps that in mind. But if you know that there are tenants who are just troublesome and that they are always looking for ways to have to not pay, so then yes, please, by all means, because at the end of the day you're going to have to admit to it, you need to do something about it. So if suddenly then your sons or your daughters decide that, okay, you know what, we're going to establish this new rule, um, you pay up or you leave, then that should be accepted, because at the end of the day nobody is going to go through all that tension. And when they know that there is this strict rule and you have to follow it, then nobody's even going to try, to be honest. They try with those people who they see that we can manipulate them. There is that. Similarly, when you're dealing with clients where, as an aunt of mine was saying that when her son took over, he he wouldn't let clients get away with materials. He would say, okay, first pay up front, then take whatever it is that you're paying for. And she was like, at first when I went, it was as if our office would close down, but I didn't say a thing and I backed off because he was the one in charge. So yeah, this is the right call, because he's establishing new rules, okay, and he's establishing himself as the new management. So the clients now have to respect the fact that this is the person who's in charge now. This is the person we're going to be dealing with, and this is how he's going to be dealing with us. And he's making clear cut rules. And if he's making clear cut rules, You know that there is no hanky panky that can be done there. So yes, you have to learn to back off. Um, and especially in today's world where everybody's always looking for a way to get away with all sorts of things, and to especially get away with not paying you what they owe you. Nowadays, you have to, because this is something that I did myself as well many years ago. This is something that I did. In Pakistan, there's this tradition, where everybody thinks that, oh, I'll pay you and this and that. And I put a stop to it. And I'm like, listen, you pay me up front and I'll write for you whatever it is that you need me to write. Or I'll help you produce whatever it is that you need me to produce. I am not going to waste my time and my energy working on something only to find out at the end that you're not going to pay me, because that's exactly what you're going to do. So I put my foot down there, and since then I have had to refuse a lot of offers. But from that, what people have learned is that they cannot mess with me. They have to give me what they owe me, and they know that they're only going to get quality uh, products. So those who uh, cannot compromise on quality, they will give you. It's like how, as I teach as well. So there is this other very long growing and even more growing trend in Pakistan where they want that you should teach them for free or for extremely low rates. These same people, when they go abroad, they will pay the actual market rates for anything and everything. And these same people, when they will go to um, boutiques, or of their favorite brands, you don't see them negotiating the price there. You see them paying up front whatever it is that they need. So priorities need to be established in our country by our people. Our people really need to reevaluate their priorities, and our people really need to know that if they want the highest quality of something, they should be ready to pay for it, and they will have to pay up front before they get whatever it is that they're paying for. So yeah, I do think that when we are running a business, we must balance the old with the new, and it's always best to apply new rules to new clients, and to just maybe tweak the old rules so that the mutual benefit between the two parties is still ongoing when it comes to old clients. Harshly just changing the rules and the contracts with decades old clients is actually not wise, as I said before, unless that there is actually proof or evidence that the other party is gaining more and that you have been at a loss because of that current contract, then yes, you're free to do that. But I think maintaining a healthy, respectful relationship with old clients and establishing new rules with new clients is the best way to maintain balance, and then you can, slowly just ease everybody uh, into the current established rules. So yeah, I mean, just my 2 cents on that. I hope everybody manages to be successful in what they do. Remember, you know best how to do your business, and sometimes because of the new rules that you establish, or the rules that you establish upon creating a business, sometimes, but most of the time actually, it would lead to very slow progress. But that doesn't mean you should be disheartened or discouraged. It usually takes time. I mean, it takes 3 to 5 years on a good era. I mean, yeah, in the good old days, it took at least 5 years for you to be able to stand and say that, okay, I'm finally there. I've begun, my business has actually begun, it has taken shape. So now it's not the good old days, and frankly, it could take you even up to 10 years. If, but you know, as I said, feel free to change accordingly to see whatever benefits you. But always think long term, because let me tell you, one of the um, biggest mistakes, fatal mistakes that businesses in Pakistan especially make is they never think long term. They never, they seem to think that it doesn't matter if they have angered a customer or a client by providing low quality services, or by, not maintaining the minimum standard. And they think it doesn't matter because, there's so many other people who will come, and so what if this client is gone? But they don't get it. This is why most of the businesses end up collapsing within months or within just a few years. Because uh, if you do not understand the importance of your clientele, the importance of the fact that your business is standing because of your clients, and that if you had no clients, no customers, you would have no business, then you know then you might actually gain a long-term uh, and actually established standing business. Um, because that is one of the things that I've noticed in our country, and that is, it's actually beginning to become a problem for me. It's getting very difficult for me to tolerate. You go to restaurants, you go to banks, you go to shops, you go to, these are all service-based industries, as I've said many times before. Service-based industries are industries that are created because of, they're created because of the demand of the people, and those people are their clients and their customers. And the day those customers and those clients will decide they don't need it anymore, your business is gone. So if you want to maintain your business, and if you want your business to be in for the long haul, then you really, really need to give respect to your customers and your clients, and uh, you need to give them importance, and you need to understand that the services that you're charging them for, you need to provide them, and the quality of your services need to be up to standard, up to mark. The fact that you think that it's okay to deal dishonestly with your customers and to charge for, you know, to charge astronomical amounts for services that you very, for completely third class services, that is corruption, obviously, and that is dishonest. And the fact that you think that you can get away with it and that it's okay and it doesn't matter, it says a lot about you. So yeah, I would revise business practices in Pakistan, and I would revise the way people run their businesses in Pakistan. uh, they need to understand that there would be no business if there was no us. So, well, on that note, I wish you all the best in all your endeavors and in all your hard work to make your dreams come true. Although the world is getting more difficult, life is getting more difficult. So, yes, we will have to adapt accordingly. We will have to adopt more strict measures. But we should never compromise on quality. That should never be compromised on. The fact that in this capitalist world we think that, it's okay that we're making absolute rubbish and we're charging the earth for it. Yeah, that is what has gone wrong with the world today. And in this world, to find somebody who does not compromise on the quality of services that they give, and that they do not compromise on the quality of the products that they sell, those people will always be sorted after. You will always be sorted after. So, once again, best of luck to all of you. This is me signing out for the